Right, as promised last time, I'm now going to talk about some of the finishing materials that I use to polish my stick handles. I start off with something called a sanding sealer. This is a mixture of, if I just hold that you can see, very, very fine sand blended in with a shellac spirit-based material. You have to give a good shake. You wipe that into the wood, and that fills up. It soaks into the wood. It's got a spirit that actually opens the grain slightly. It sinks into the wood and it seals it up. The very, very fine particle, I think it's silicate sand, that sinks into the little scratches and things that you never really get rid of, and that makes a good surface for holding the preparation. Some people say when they look at it, oh, you've varnished it. No, I use varnish extremely sparingly. The reason being, however good a varnish you use, whether it's yacht varnish or whatever, it will dry. Wood does expand and contract, even hardwood like this, particularly if you have a centrally heated home, as most of us have, and consequently it will craze and crack after a time, which makes it look dull, and it also then starts allowing moisture maybe to seep behind the varnish and damage the wood. A very traditional treatment for wood and wood polish is boiled linseed oil. It smells like a dead dog. It's also combustible. Believe it or not, if you get linseed oil on a rag and you leave it in some conditions, it can combust instantaneously. So you do need to be careful when you're using boiled linseed oil, particularly when you're disposing of rags and things like that. And you've also got to make sure you're using a lint-free material. I do use it on some outdoor projects, almost as a sealer, as a preparation for something else, but I use sparingly, although it is very popular. A lot of people do like to use it. I tend to like finishing oils. I use outdoor furniture oil, which is cheap. A very, very good quality finish, particularly if you give it 2 or 3 coats, and provided you don't fall into the trap of buying mahogany oil, which does have rather an aggressive acid in it, and it isn't really any good for other woods other than mahogany. So I tend to just buy the just standard outdoor hardwood furniture oil, and that stands me in good stead and produces some very long-lasting polishes. On this particular project, it's called finishing oil. This does give a very good seal, although you do need maybe 4 or 5 coats with at least 12 hours in between, and then 24 hours on the final coat. So I'm just going to wipe a little bit over this wood so you can start to see A, the effect of the polishing, and B, the work that we've done with the sanding. And you can see there the lovely gloss effect that will put. Now that won't last very long because it'll soak in. As I say, it's only just 1 coat, so I'm just going to get Nerdle to zoom in on that just so you can get a feel for the quality of effect that it will produce. Thank you, Nerdle. That's produced quite a nice surface, and 5 coats of that, and I think I'll be very proud to contact the lady and say Oswald is alive, he's back. Just finally to mention this material here, this is called the bolster, and it's the spacer, if you like, between the stick and the head. And this actually is buffalo horn. It comes from the European bison, and some people get a bit sensitive about it, but it's really just the same as cow horn. In Eastern Europe, they breed the bison for their beef market, and very tasty it is too. Now that I would use the same sort of sanding techniques and polishing techniques to get a good surface on it, and then I use something, this is really an ultimate car polish. It's a cutting agent as well as a polish, and that just cuts it in the same way as those very, very fine sanding materials that we use, and that gives a really high gloss finish, and then I will seal it over the top with that. You can use something called, I think it's T-cut, which you can use for regenerating paint on horn, wood, antler, horn, antler, and ram's horn, etc., like that. So it's really a cutting agent and a fine sanding material, and then you can seal it with oils. Well, there you are. I've talked in these sessions. I've broken them up so otherwise they just get too boring. This is really the three sections of fine detailing with knives, and then cutting into the material with sanding and filing to produce the ultimate effect that you're looking for and the quality that you would be proud of. So really all I need to do now is to say thanks very much for spending some time with us. I do put on my website if I'm going to be selling, so if I'm in your area, maybe you'd like to come along and have a chat and have a look at some of my other carving and work. So, from Nerdle the cameraman, Oswald the otter, and Stickmaker John, we'd like to say thanks for spending some time with us. So, bye-bye from now from Shed World. Are you ready, Nerdle? Press the button.